Nameless is standing near the railing of a public building as the detective finds the suspect.
I know who you are, landscaper.
Oh, I must congratulate you on your joke, detective.
Shut up, I know you killed Mike Universal that night.
Sounds like you figured everything out, right? Don't make me laugh. Like every coin, the situation has two sides. What you see is only one side, detective. I know that you, the detective of the law, must follow the path of justice. You can't follow that path forever. There are times like these that your vision may be distorted.
Really, you seem like you know everything.
Indeed, I know much more than some government crony.
Just spit it out. What is it that you know a lot about that I obviously do not understand?
Meanwhile, Serena arrives in the vicinity of her friend and the detective.
Hey, I found it. Get over here to the two-story building.
She eavesdrops on Nameless.
Oh, okay. I'll be on my way.
I will tell you the complete story from beginning to end. You will accept it as the truth or as a lie. In 1995, Mike Universal reports tonight, with 20 technological intellectuals, started United Application Semiconductor Company. Soon, $1 million success occurred, but we did not have a true blockbuster success. However, in 2000, our company forged a new computer security application that made $50 million overnight. Our company quickly expanded to 1,000 in 2001 when we released our first PC strategy game that made millions in a couple days. In that same year, in 2001, I led my semiconductor division by licensing a new patented silicon-based manufacturing technique, which garnered over $90 million in earnings just from 2001. By the end of 2002, multiple releases of games and licenses for silicon-based chip manufacturing led to our first year with over $2 billion in revenue. During that year, a one-year shareholder war occurred, with a faction of 21 led by me, or including myself, against 979 employees that teamed up with Mike.
This story seems to be fine to me.
Unfortunately, all fairy tales have their ugly truths. In December 2002, 20 of my coworkers, who I considered my friends, and I were working on an untested experimental silicon-based manufacturing process. Meanwhile, 2 other coworkers were working outside, analyzing data and other information. And the CEO, Mike Universal IV, decided to rush our process in creating the prototype, which gave us a humongous problem. My friends and I inside attempted an emergency shutdown of the machine, but unfortunately we failed. The machine exploded.
Why are you still here, then, if you should be dead?
I managed to survive due to my friends' sacrifice, in which they absorbed most of the shrapnel and radiation, but I still received some of the toxic metals subsequent radiation. We soon crawled out of the decontamination chamber, and we headed straight to a hospital. Eventually, my 20 friends had to sell their shares of United Application Semiconductor Company due to their medical costs that they had to pay, and I followed suit in 2004. By that time, Mike Universal IV would soon absorb 100% of the company, and he sold it to a technology conglomerate. And he was paid over $4 billion for the entire company. And 979 workers would be transferred to the conglomerate's new technology division.
Well, what happened in their end?
The 979 workers would be paid a handsome $182,000 a year for their work in the technology conglomerate's new division, except they had to work 70-hour weeks in a 5-day standard work week. The stress levels were enormous, and they received no credit for their work. Eventually, in the period between 2005 and 2007, in that division, 200 people committed suicide.
What do you mean?
In 2008, 779 remaining workers in that division were eventually fired. And unfortunately, that was not the worst of it. In 2008, all 779 committed suicide. At New Glory's Point, 2009, the 20 friends had enough. They were sick of watching the news and seeing suicides happen every day. So they took action. They came to New Glory's Point police station, and they challenged police officers to a fight. They drew swords. The officers drew guns. After countless hours of fighting, 979 police officers were severely wounded, and 20 of my friends were dead. Sadly, police officers were outclassed by my 20 friends' determination and their skill in sword combat. I was present at the funeral for 20 of my friends, and they left me a note to end the fight.
What was the last task?
I had to finish the fight that my friends started. My 20 friends were sick of authority and the government that was corrupted, which failed to stop the transaction that ruined hundreds of lives. My final mission was to eliminate the bastard that ruined the lives of thousands of our co-workers' families. Now that you know, what are you going to do?
I refuse to believe the details that you explained.
I understand. What will you do now? Attempt to arrest me?
I'm an officer of the law, so by law, I must arrest you.
You can't hurt a guy for being diplomatic. I do understand the predicament now, but I made a choice to do what I thought was morally right. When you bear 999 people in your mind, eventually, you can't just sit and do nothing. The morality of allowing 999 dead people not rest in peace is what is truly cruel. Recently, I learned from a new friend that life is a priceless, fragile item, which I have obviously broken, and I must pay the ultimate price for this error. I sincerely apologize from the bottom of my dead heart to the 999 friends, 979 police officers, Mike Universal of 4th, and all the people that have been affected by our company's activities, as well as a friend who I cannot repay for her support. After everything that has been said and done, I do not regret any second of my life.